is.
Tom Brady's recent comments have ignited a full-fledged firestorm, bringing dark secrets about the NFL back into the spotlight. His remarks about black quarterbacks have reopened old wounds, reawakening a controversy that many thought had been buried. This controversy has sparked fresh debates about systemic issues within the league, with people questioning why this pattern keeps repeating itself.
The NFL is a willing participant in the overthrow of American values.
If someone like Tom Brady, a former player who has achieved so much in the NFL, is making these statements, it begs the question, what have the corporate owners been doing behind the scenes? Are their actions just as troubling? These are the tough questions we need to confront today.
We didn't have to file a lawsuit for the world to know that there's a problem from a hiring standpoint in regards to minority coaches in the National Football League. The numbers speak for themselves.
The NFL has long been criticized for its racial issues, whether it's the treatment of black coaches or players on the field, while the league is attempted to defend its actions, claiming they're implementing measures. To ensure the NFL remains prominent in the media and its stock values continue to rise, their efforts often seem counterproductive. Take last year's Super Bowl, for instance, where they chose to remove any references to racism from the touchdown line. It is hard to ignore the optics when such a high-profile event, attended by figures like Donald Trump and major stakeholders, could have been an opportunity to take a strong stance against wrongdoing, but instead, the league opted for a different message. Reports suggest that the Trump administration may have pressured the NFL to remove that message. So here's the million-dollar question. What's the NFL really worth if its entire brand can be bent and twisted by outside forces that don't even care about the bigger picture?
Reports this week, the NFL is going to remove the words "end racism" from the end zone during the Super Bowl this Sunday. And I know that sounds so shocking that you think it can't be real.
Bill Maher jumped in, claiming the call to remove those racial justice messages was tied to the White House. But insiders believe the truth cuts deeper, that the real push came from the NFL's own billionaire owners, desperate to protect their empire. And that revelation alone has people side-eyeing the league like never before. Now here's where it got explosive. Maher actually backed the decision. But before his words could settle, a black player clapped back, exposing the ugly undertone in Maher's defense. To him, it wasn't just bad optics. It was straight-up coded racism hiding behind business talk. And once that door cracked open, the floodgates burst wide. NFL players started speaking up, and they weren't sugarcoating it. When asked if racism exists inside locker rooms, the answers came back loud and raw. Yes, it's everywhere. One veteran even revealed that while outsiders think the locker room is sacred, behind those doors, it can be one of the most toxic and racist spaces in the sport.
But I think it's an asshole to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write, don't be an asshole in the end zone, everybody will agree with that.
And here's the real tragedy. Players who deal with this every day feel trapped. If they stay quiet, the cycle continues. But if they speak out, the media twists the story, painting them as problem players and tanking their careers before they even peak. That's the twisted double bind. Stay silent and suffer, or speak up and risk it all. The question haunting fans now is brutal. If racism runs this deep inside the locker room, how far up the chain does it really go?
Is it racism inside of the locker room?
The one sacred place that you think you have is the locker room. There's a lot of things that go on inside that, you know, the outside world isn't privy to. A lot of conversations, but does racism exist in the locker room?
For the sake of their careers, many black players feel cornered into denying what they know deep down, that racism is alive and kicking in the NFL. Some even go so far as to claim the league is the least racist institution in America, a statement that sounds less like truth and more like survival. Because when your paycheck and your future are on the line, silence becomes a weapon used against you. Take Cam Ward, the #1 overall draft pick, who once said, "Every boy dreams of making it to the NFL. no matter how hard the road is. Racism or not, he called it the ultimate dream. His words showed the cruel reality, that for many players, chasing the dream means swallowing the pain and pretending the system isn't broken. But then you look at cases like Shedeur Sanders, and the picture gets even darker. This was a quarterback once hyped as a top pick, possibly going first or second overall. Instead, he slid all the way to the 5th round, and now he's clawing just to survive in the league. What was his mistake? Not a failed play, not bad stats, just the fact that he was a black quarterback who dared to shine too bright. His confidence, his flash, his refusal to dim his light, that's what made him a target. For some insiders, that swagger was painted as arrogance, another excuse to drag him down. It's the same old pattern. When black athletes don't fit the mold the league wants, suddenly their talent gets overshadowed by prejudice. Even Cam Ward admitted it. He called out the NFL for spinning narratives, saying the league and its media machine twist the spotlight into a weapon. He said Shedeur's being treated the exact same way he was years ago, unfairly painted as a problem just for being himself. And that's the ugliest part. The media doesn't just critique, it distorts. It warps the image of players like Shedeur, downplaying their skill and inflating their flaws until the public buys into a lie. For these quarterbacks, the fight isn't just on the field. It's against a system determined to keep them in a box they never asked to fit in. Now, Tom Brady's stance on black quarterbacks who embrace self-expression has ripped the mask off once again. Racism is still baked deep into the NFL. He tried to walk it back, saying celebration should be team-focused, but his shots at self-branding and individuality told the real story. The message between the lines was clear. When black players show personality and pride, suddenly it's a problem. His words weren't just harmless opinions. They exposed a bias that has stalked the league for decades. Instead of appreciating players who bring their authentic selves to the game, the NFL culture punishes them for not fitting a narrow mold. And Brady's comments didn't come out of nowhere. They reflected the very attitude that has held back some of the most talented black quarterbacks in history. What's wild is how this ties directly into the league's bigger mess. Every move the NFL makes to look progressive starts to crumble when reality hits. Shedeur Sanders fighting to prove he belongs, Cam Ward admitting how the league spins narratives, and Brady's thinly veiled shots, it all paints the same picture. The NFL can put out slick commercials about diversity, but the truth still leaks out in plain sight. For years, the narrative around black quarterbacks has been manipulated, twisted, and controlled. Speak out? You're difficult. Celebrate yourself? You're selfish show style? You're arrogant. That double standard has cost players draft spots, endorsements, and even careers. From scrubbing racial justice messages at the Super Bowl to forcing players to downplay their own experiences, the NFL's dirty laundry is piling up, and fans are finally seeing the stains that can't be hidden anymore. And here's where things hit the boiling point. The backlash to Brady's comments hasn't just been about him, it's forcing people to pull receipts on the NFL itself. Fans are digging up past cases, calling out how the league has systematically punished black quarterbacks for daring to step outside the box. Suddenly, old draft slides, unfair benchings, and shady media narratives are being re-examined with fresh eyes, and the patterns are impossible to ignore. One fan pointed straight at Shedeur Sanders, saying, "If his last name wasn't Sanders, he wouldn't even be on a roster right now." That stings, because it ties right back to the whispers that Deion Sanders had to twist arms just to keep his son in the league. And whether that's true or not, it shows how toxic the conversation has become. Talent isn't the headline anymore, conspiracy is. Another wave of critics dragged Cam Ward into it, reminding people how the league hyped him up only to tear him down the second he refused to play the humble, quiet role. Now fans are connecting the dots. Different players, same treatment, same ugly pattern. It's almost like the NFL has an unwritten rule. Stay in line, don't shine too bright, and maybe you'll survive. Meanwhile, players who do speak out risk career suicide. Behind closed doors, insiders say team executives hate when the race conversation hits the media, and any player attached to it gets labeled a distraction. That label alone can sink a career faster than a bad season. Which makes you wonder, How many voices have been silenced before we ever got to hear them? This isn't just about Brady's words anymore. It's about decades of double standards catching up to the NFL, with fans and players both demanding answers that the league has dodged for far too long. These moves were supposed to protect the NFL's shiny image, but instead, they've blown up in the league's face, exposing the hypocrisy at its core. Every time the NFL tries to silence players or bury the truth, the cracks just get bigger, and now the public is finally seeing how deep the problem runs. The league loves to talk about diversity and inclusion, but fans are connecting the dots. Those words don't match the actions. The same old patterns of bias, discrimination, and double standards keep repeating, and no amount of PR can cover it up anymore. With the media and players speaking louder than ever, the NFL is backed into a corner it can't easily escape. And here's the part the league fears the most. Players aren't staying quiet anymore. Each story that comes out makes it harder to deny the reality, and the NFL's own attempts to shut them down are only making the issue louder. The battle for real equality is nowhere near finished, and the pressure on the league is building like never before. So now the big questions hang in the air. Is the NFL truly ready to confront racism? Or are they just slapping band-aids on a wound to protect their brand? How long will players keep risking their careers by staying silent? And when will real change actually come? One thing is certain, this league doesn't survive without the athletes. They're the ones putting in the grind, carrying the weight of the spotlight, and giving fans the show week after week. Owners may control the checks, but it's the players who make the game what it is. That's why it's on us to stand with them, amplify their voices, and make sure their fight doesn't get swept back under the rug.